The nation's lowest paid workers will this morning find out how big a pay rise they're getting from next month. Our reporter Stephanie Ferrier joins us now from Melbourne. Steph, there are different opinions on what sort of a raise we could see.
Good morning, Bridget. Yes, at the moment, minimum wage earners are paid around $24.10 per hour, or just under $916 per week. Employer groups like the Retailers Association are arguing for a modest increase of around 2.5%. Some are asking for even lower than that. And they argue that this would help with cost of living relief, but at the same time not stoke inflation. And employers also argue that any real wage increase would have to be accompanied by improvements in productivity. The federal government says that it wants to see an economically sustainable real wage increase. So that means something that is above the current inflation rate of 2.4%. But we've heard from the Australian Council of Trade Unions, it's actually suggesting a 4.5% rise. And earlier on, we heard from Sally McManus on News Breakfast, the Secretary of the ACTU. Now, she says that this would help with those that have really taken a big hit due to increased inflation. And she says at the moment, some of those lowest paid workers are really doing it quite tough.
If you're a minimum wage worker, you've got no savings, and so every extra bit goes to paying your bills but also making your life just that little bit better. During the pandemic with inflation, people went backwards, and it's time for people now to catch up.
That's the ACTU Secretary, Sally McManus, speaking on News Breakfast a short time ago. And she also says that this is not just going to directly impact 3 million Australians. It's also going to lift the floor on wages for all Australians, with this decision typically a benchmark for wage growth across Australia. And she says during those really high periods of inflation, while businesses were able to put up their prices, workers couldn't simply put up their wages, so this is long overdue. Now, the decision and just how much workers are going to get is going to be announced in just under 2 hours from now, Bridget.
All right, we wait and see. Thanks very much, Steph.
To federal politics now, and the Greens are very disappointed this morning after Western Australian Senator Dorinda Cox defected to the Labor Party. Our political reporter Olivia Casely joins us now from Parliament House to tell us more. G'day, Olivia. Senator Cox cites a loss of confidence in the minor party. What else did she have to say?
Yeah, she says that it all boils down to values, and that essentially her values align more closely with the Labor Party's than the Greens. She was, of course, a member of Labor when she was in her youth before she ultimately did decide to join the Greens more generally. She ultimately says that she feels like she'll be able to make more of a difference in Parliament working alongside the government. When it comes to the composition of the Senate and how Dorinda Cox's shock defection will impact those numbers, there's not going to be a major difference. Ultimately, the Greens will still hold the balance of power in the upper house, so the government will essentially still have to rely upon them to pass a legislation. But symbolically, this is a major blow to the minor party. They lost 3 of their 4 lower house seats at the federal election. They also lost their leader in Adam Bandt, who didn't manage to hold on to his seat of Melbourne. Dorinda Cox is the second Indigenous woman to leave the Greens in the past 5 years or so, and Larissa Waters, the new Greens leader, was asked about that this morning and the fact that there's now no First Nations representatives in the Greens at a federal level. This was her response.
The Greens remain entirely committed to strong advocacy on truth-telling, on treaties, on justice, on healing, on reparations. Our policies are still very firm for First Nations justice, and we won't be changing course in that regard. And we'll continue to really push on those issues.
There is a question mark hanging over how Dorinda Cox will square some of her policy positions, especially on the environment, with Labor's party platform. So last week, for example, she was very critical of the Albanese government's decision to extend the life of the Northwest gas shelf project in WA. So we'll wait to see how that plays out, and Anthony Albanese will be holding a cabinet meeting in Perth later today.
All right, Olivia, thank you for that. Let's get some more news now with Emma.
Thanks, James. Police believe a man found dead in a home in Sydney's inner west is the victim of a drug deal gone wrong, but are not ruling out other possible scenarios. Police have described the scene as confronting, where they discovered the body of a man in his 50s with multiple stab wounds at a Croydon Park home. A 32-year-old man was arrested at the scene and taken in for questioning. Police are investigating a fatal fire in Melbourne's east overnight. A resident of an apartment block in Box Hill died at the scene at about 8 p.m. They're yet to be formally identified. All other residents were safely evacuated. Investigators say at this stage they're not treating the fire as suspicious. Tasmanian police say an autopsy will be conducted this morning on a body found in a bin on Hobart's eastern shore. A rubbish contractor discovered the body of a 45-year-old man in an industrial-sized bin behind an op shop in Belrive yesterday morning. He'd often been seen in the area and had been homeless for several months. New South Wales Mental Health Minister Rose Jackson concedes community-based care for people struggling with their mental health has been underfunded. An ABC Four Corners investigation has found New South Wales spends the lowest amount per capita on mental health in Australia, and doctors say that's created a crisis that's getting worse. Ms Jackson has told ABC Radio Sydney New South Wales is spending $2.9 billion a year on treating mental health, but acknowledges the money could be better targeted.
A lot of the investment has gone into hospital-based care, and I think community care has been one of the areas where there's the most significant underinvestment. And so, all levels of government, state and federal, have got to confront the fact that the system just possibly is not big enough and does not have enough community-based care for the demand that we're seeing.
Portuguese and German police have launched a new search in Portugal into the disappearance of Madeleine MCCann. The search will cover areas near where the 3-year-old vanished in 2007 while holidaying with her family. In 2022, German authorities formally identified Christian Bruckner as an official suspect in Madeleine's disappearance, but have not found enough evidence to bring charges. More afternoon ferry services will be restored today for Tasmania's Bruny Island Ferry following community backlash. Earlier this year, ferry operator SeaLink introduced a new winter timetable which included fewer trips both to and from the island on weekday afternoons, leading to complaints about congestion.